Welcome to 247 Real Talk. I'm your host, Julian Perry. It's a pleasure to be here with you for another episode of the 247 Real Talk podcast. It is Thursday, April 24th at about 10:46 p.m. I'm late this week. Means I'll have a late night of editing this episode for you to get it in a few hours on Friday morning at 5 a.m. when it airs. I hope you had a great week since we last spoke. Giving a shout out to all my subscribers, existing and new. I thank you for your continued support, especially to also special mention, because I don't want to forget those who support the audio version that you can find in every podcast app. I've got tens of thousands of downloads, and I'm so appreciative for that. I hope you had a great week. Like I said, mine's been okay. Usual thing. 1 week more progress with my right knee healing and my left knee just trying to hang in there for a few more months. And I'm about to hit a difficult time soon in the next few months when my insurance stops my the amount of visits. I got a limited amount of visits of physical therapy for the year. I've got to keep maybe 20 or so for my surgery at the end of the year, post-surgery. So the rest I'm about to finish up. So I figure probably by the end of June, I will have to stop my physical therapy. I was looking at how testing out how my knee felt today, and I can tell it needs 12 to 18 months. Anyway, we're not going to take much more time with that. I'm going to be right back, and we're going to talk about the power of your dollar in a good way. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back, and it's going to be a quick episode. I'm tired. It's Thursday night. I still have to edit this and get it ready for you. But something happened that caught my attention this week more than ever. We've talked a lot about what's going on in Washington. We've talked about what happened with the markets over the last few weeks. We've talked about the manipulation of the market. We've talked about how the rich have gotten richer. And on every single show, and I have to tell you, I think my memory serves me right, next week's episode will be my 250th episode. And I'll talk more about that next week if I've got it right. But very soon upcoming will be my 250th episode. But all the time I tell you about making a difference in different ways. We've talked about mental health. We've talked about suicide prevention. We talked about socioeconomic issues, criminal justice issues, on and on. And each time I tell you about being active and making a difference. Recently, we've talked about making a difference in terms of you writing Congress and writing your senators and going to the websites. And I know that too takes an effort, especially in your busy days and trying to survive and running with the kids or working multiple jobs or figuring out how to pay the bills. But I've got one for you. For those of you who haven't jumped on the bandwagon yet, it's time. There has been a nationwide effort, if you're not aware, to boycott companies that have decided to follow the rhetoric of Washington and abolish DEI practices. Now, we've established that people have this thing in their mind where DEI means people of color. DEI means black people, people of Hispanic people. No. DEI, as I mentioned before, I'm reiterating for a reason. DEI has to do with certain people who get, what do I want to say, an easier path to certain medical treatments. DEI has to do with many things that handicapped people get to assist with their handicap. Like I told you, those curves when you're walking down the street to the sidewalk and each edge of the road, the sidewalk has a curve, that's DEI. Handicapped elevators, handicapped ramps for stores and offices and businesses and subways and elevated platforms. It's not just about, giving a person of color an even chance when they go for a job. It includes that, but it's not all about that. So what has happened is the abolishment of DEI has hurt many people and insulted many people. We've had names of people of color who have done miraculous things with their lives that we remember them, dozens of years later or decades later because of what they did, either on one day or with their lives. And their names have been erased from memorial places and from Arlington Cemetery, and people who have given their lives for this country. The armed services have been ordered to look at their libraries, to remove things. I saw today that there was one state that sued to stop at the enforcement of DEI in its schools, its practices, and the judge did put a temporary pause on them having to follow through with that order. I'm assuming so that they can mount a more robust legal action. But here's where the news gets really interesting. There have been major stores that are across America. Some have refused to follow the DEI mandate, and some have folded because they have been beneficiaries of this administration, and they have also donated to it. So we've seen places like Costco who says they will not abolish their DEI, and we've seen the membership rise, and we've seen their profits go up by billions. On the same side, we've seen this week, I think it's this week, Target reported that to date, since it abolished its DEI practice, it has lost just short of $16 billion. Walmart, same period, has lost around $22 billion. This is where your activism comes in without much effort. We all like to jump in our cars with our flip-flops on, especially in the summer, and run to Walmart or Target. Target, the way they design their stores, a lot of women, a lot of men, a lot of young people, a lot of old people. I'm differentiating because I'm saying it's across genres, it's across genders, it's across ethnicities, love to go to Target. They get these good deals. The stores are laid out nicely, most of them at least. And it's just a nice atmosphere to walk around with a cart and shop. Walmart's got that all-inclusive shopping where you can buy electronics and clothing and exercise equipment. And in certain states, if you're a hunter, there's different equipment. And there's, if you're a swimmer, whatever you are, if you're a bicyclist, and then you go over to the other section and they've got a whole grocery store. It's a one-stop shop. It's a place that people go in and spend hours. They get cheap clothes and jeans and t-shirts. And so boycotting it is not easy. But there are alternatives out there, and I'm proud. I came up with this as I read it today, so I'm not as prepared as I should have been for this podcast, because I should have had a list of alternatives to offer you. But I promise you that whether it's about my next episode, or whether it's just a part of, if my episode is in fact my 250th when I check, then I'm going to touch on multiple topics as an anniversary episode. But I promise you I will look for stores that upheld their DEI practices and decided not to conform to Washington. And I'll try to look not only for what they've reported in increased profits year to date or since this started, but also stores that offer alternatives. Now, stores like Costco, you do have to buy a membership, but they offer everything: electronics, kitchenware, camping wear, outdoor wear, all the groceries you can need, all the plants you can need, all the outdoor equipment you can need, the beach equipment, the kayaking, the bicycles. They offer everything, tents. And people, I went to Costco before DEI and it was pretty packed. And I remember going there the first time after DEI and saying, I can hardly walk in this place. And I felt good about it because we were paying attention, and we rewarded companies like Costco for standing strong for what is right. And so here we are. I think Walmart and Target and some other CEOs went to Washington last week to meet with the administration. And I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear that conversation. Because this is something they can't do anything about. You can decide where to spend your dollars. And I understand it. It's difficult because one of the companies that still has not turned against or decided to stand strong and not implement DEI, even though you see all their drivers and workers are people of color, etc., is Amazon. But Amazon is a big contributor to this administration for many reasons, including its endeavors for its space program. And Amazon is so convenient and the model is so well designed that sometimes you're forced to. So here's what I say. For some stores, you can be you can be cold turkey and stop shopping. For other stores, look for alternatives. The worst case scenario will be that instead of boycotting it 100%, you've boycotted, you're only buying 10% of what you would have normally bought. Because I understand it. I'll give you an example. Doing some DIY work, I wanted some wood. I normally go to Home Depot because Home Depot is another company that has stood strong against abolishing DEI. But Lowe's has followed suit. But now, where I live, the Lowe's and the Home Depot are like maybe 2 long blocks apart. So how they're able to both exist is because they sell different things. Home Depot, I forgot the name of it too, has its own brand to start with. Lowe's has the Cobalt brand. And then they sell different tools, right? The Lowe's sells Craftsman stuff. Home Depot sells like Milwaukee and which I buy anyway, and DeWalt. So that's how they manage to stay in business, because some people love Craftsman, some people like Milwaukee, right? Or Ryobi or whatever it is. Point being is they sell different brands to stay in business. And I found myself, they're buying all this wood that I needed, and there's one specific type of wood and piece of pre-engineered wood I needed, and the only place I've ever found it is Lowe's. Home Depot doesn't carry it. And it wasn't very expensive, but I reluctantly went into Lowe's to get it. And when I went into Lowe's to get it, I got it, and I'd admit that, but it also made me more committed to not going back to Lowe's. Because as I walked through Lowe's, all of the customers there was no people of color in that store. I had made friends over time with a few of the people that worked there, and a couple of them were people of color. I haven't seen them since. I don't know whether they were terminated or maybe they were on a different shift. The point being, Lowe's has not declared how much has been hit. Maybe because there's an embarrassment there, because what I saw in the store is Home Depot's parking lot is packed and Lowe's parking lot is sparse. Home Depot opened on Easter Sunday until 6 p.m. to cater to people who were working on the weekends and needed stuff on the weekend on Easter Sunday. So not the all day, because they usually open from, I believe, 6 to 10, but I think they did 6 to 6. Lowe's was closed. Where you stand depends on where you sit. Making choices is so important. I haven't been able to yet do the research, but I promise you I will do a deeper dive and see what I can find about the global effect of what we've been doing. There is a bishop or someone, I forgot his name, somewhere down south United States, who's been pushing this narrative of a boycotting nationwide. It's been supported by a lot of members a lot of pastors, members of the church. And I heard he's pushing it, keep going, keep going. Now, normally people might ignore it, but here he happens to be, I think it's one like the biggest Baptist churches down south United States. And the result is it has spread nationwide. I'm telling you here today that Target's lost 15, Walmart's lost 22. I want to talk to you in 2 weeks and tell you Target has lost 30, 40, and Walmart's lost 100 billion. I want you to think back of the days before segregation and think back about why segregation was actually implemented. People think it's because, oh, we fought for all these things and they decided to accept us. No, don't fall for it. Just like many people didn't believe in Project 2025. Just like our president said, he doesn't know what it is, but everything he's doing is implementing it. Here's what happened. There were things like Black Wall Street. When there was segregation, the black dollar, and we have to say black because it was a slavery thing, and then it was after slavery, it was a race thing, right? Plain and simple. It wasn't even a gender thing. It was a race thing. So black people had to go to black stores, black barbers, black shop, black shoemaker, black supermarket, black dentist. Bottom line is, there were rich people in the black community. And the black community was rich and the money stayed in the community. There are people who outside of the black community who saw this and realized that because of segregation, they couldn't touch the black dollar. So they came out with this lie about abolishing segregation, making you think that they were accepting us, but they weren't. What they were doing was opening the door to get their hands on our money. And they did. Because we had been cooped up so long and restricted so long that we didn't know how to act. And the next morning, that the day after segregation was abolished, we got up and went to the white barber, the white store, the white dentist, just because we could, because it represented freedom to us. And I understand that. It's a mental thing. But you should take a lesson from that time and recognize that you are a human being. This thing of white, black, Asian, yellow, green, purple, when you die, your eyes are closed. Your human body is stiff and cold. You've come out of a freezer and been thawed off to be viewed. Your spirit is gone before the Father, our Creator. And what color you were and all that doesn't matter. They don't dig a different hole with different color mud and earth to put you in. It's the same earth that covers this entire planet that you get lowered into. They dig a hole, they put you by tradition 6 feet under to rest. What does that mean? That means, as they say, from dust we come, from dust to earth we return. Doesn't discriminate. If you have an accident of multiple people, a national disaster, tornadoes don't go to black houses only or Hispanic houses only. They go through neighborhoods and they don't discriminate, national disasters. COVID didn't discriminate. The response to COVID by living people was discriminatory, but COVID, the disease itself, didn't infiltrate the lungs of one ethnicity or gender differently from another. Use your power. Make your difference. Be cognizant of where you're shopping and where you're spending and who you're spending with, who you are enriching to use your dollar. Don't give it to someone who will use it against you. And this is an easy way to get involved if you were concerned and wondering how you will become involved. I'm giving you the golden spoon in your mouth. When you get up and make your plans for your groceries, and make your plans to shop for whatever, go on Google, simple. And if you want housewares, just type in houseware stores that support DEI. Because not only will you find yourself making your dollar powerful, but you'll also in turn support businesses that deserve to be supported because they stood strong for us with all the threats against them. It's time for us to stand up. Change is not going to come knocking on our doors. We got to go knock on the door of change. I saved a biblical passage. You know, I like to read those from time to time, and I hope I can find it real quickly as I close out this episode. I thought I had put it in favorites, and I pray I have, because um, I meant to read it for this episode. Just as a reminder, yeah, here it is. We live in a way where we find ourselves in positions of discrimination. We have groups who, like we've heard, this is not something that someone's going to call me prejudiced about, because I'm not. I have friends of every race, creed, color, ethnicity, gender. The fact is that there are groups out there now walking around certain neighborhoods in this country that have put back on the Ku Klux Klan white hoods and are promoting marches of white supremacy, something that was either put in the closet or something that some people were forced to change because their minds were opened. They've been empowered to rise again. There's a lot of discrimination and hate, both by gender, from ethnicity, even from socioeconomic standing, rich over poor. When we live this life as if we are kings of kings, when we oppress others, when we hurt others, when we discriminate against others, when we punish others simply because they disagree with us, not because they've committed a crime. We're acting like we are rich and powerful and superior because of our jobs, because of our positions in government, because of our wealth, because of our fame. I always tell you, and I'll end with this. This is a short episode too. I kept my word. The most important thing, no matter what we're going through, is to remember and focus on who you are and whose you are. Remember that. And as I close out this episode, I'm going to read you from the New International Versions, Romans chapter 14, verse 11. It is written, "As surely as I live, says the Lord, every knee will bow before me. Every tongue, regardless of who you think you are, regardless of how much power you have, our Creator says, every knee will bow before me. Every tongue will acknowledge God." That powerless humility we will feel on Judgment Day will be the price we pay, will be the passing exam for who we thought we were in this life. And for those of us who remembered who we are, and more importantly, whose we are. Remember I told you, man appoints, man beats his chest, man does things to other people and feels joy from others' demise and bleeding and hurt and cruelty and destruction. Man appoints, but God disappoints. Until the next time, please take care of yourselves and each other.